Good morning. Welcome to Insights with Juliana and Nicole. We are delighted to have here as our guest today George Bennis, who is a Feng Shui master, and his website is thefengshuiadvantage.com. So welcome.
I love that.
I
love it. I absolutely love it. And I've given
like
it to...
a high five
I'm like, that is so cool. And I think I've given it seriously to about 10 people, that are in business, because often... I mean, I'm quite lucky in that I have some really great mentors, and one of them is actually a Buddhist monk who specialises in it. So, however, she did say to me, George, you need to sort the house out. Like, where are the flowers, where are this, where are that? But from a corporate perspective, I have, and this is, for me, I just want to I guess I'm saying this because I want people to understand the difference between what you do as a master as opposed to people who know a little bit about it and then are walking around everywhere going, we focus on business. Do you know what I mean? There's a big difference to me, very, very big difference. And that's why I've referred people to your site, because we do have a master here, and that is not, a 2-year thing. Like, it doesn't, do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't take that. And I think that people need to understand that difference, because it is trendy, I'm being honest with you. It's very trendy in businesses to use it. But for me, it's about finding the right person. And and having that incredible knowledge that sits behind it, and that's where I think you kind of kick it in.
Thank you. Well, I won't argue with anything.
And I wasn't paid for that.
Well, the interesting thing is that we had George as a guest when we were your source. Now that we're Psychic Juliana TV, we were so excited to get him back, because, as you explained, it's not a finite process either. Your mastership, or whatever your mastery, it's ongoing as well, because you are consistently upgrading your skill base.
Yeah, it's a lifelong study.
Absolutely. So we wanted to really, and look, I know that there's a lot, and the complexity is amazing, and what you brought with you today is your gorgeous compass. So I'll just
my
move.
well-worn, old trusty compass.
Yeah. Can you just hold it up so that we can see it on camera for anybody? I mean, it's incredibly complex. And as much as we are going to be talking about how you can make some beginnings of changes in your business today using Feng Shui, we're not saying by any stretch of the imagination that it is a simple process.
No, it's very complex, and it's individualistic, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's extremely difficult to give any generalised one-size-fits-all advice.
Correct.
And business premises are totally different from residential homes. Because residential homes, the focus is on the health, the relationship, the family, the people aspect. So in a house, we focus on what we call a mountain star, which is the energy that relates to relationship and to people. In business, it's about commercial activity. It's about essentially making money. So the focus is different. The focus is on what we call the water star, which is the energy that brings activity, or what type of activity is brought to the premises. So also in charting, in the formulas that we use in the charting system, it's different for a home to what you do for a business premises. And so people who are learning Feng Shui don't know that. And like, I remember in, I think it was 2004 or something, my teacher came over from the University of Hong Kong, and he said, okay, now we're going to do commercial Feng Shui. And he said, and that's totally different from what you do for a house. And everyone's jaws just dropped and went, I've been doing people's businesses, and so he said, have you noticed that it works for some and not others? And they went, yeah. So, well, because it's a totally different thing. You need this experience in doing homes and stuff before you can go into commercial premises. So it's a totally different focus. It's a different charting system. It's a lot more complex, and it's tricky. Businesses are tricky, and I suppose one thing is that the biggest problem is that most people get a business premises that doesn't have the energy that their business activity needs, right? And so that's not a do-it-yourself project. Like when, someone, the ideal is to get someone like me to come before you even choose the business premises and go, get that one.
That's what my sister did.
Then when they tell you, then get that one, and they say, paint this wall this colour and put water here, then that part of it is the do-it-yourself project.
Okay.
Right?
So, yeah. Right.
But the choice and it's actually all tied up into your karma as well. So, if you've got good business acumen and good business karma, you'll find a good business premises.
So then can I ask you something? Because there is an increase, and I was actually talking to the Board of Business Management, okay, and they were saying that it's statistically now there are 72% of businesses run out of home, particularly with online. Now, in that case, that's like us.
Correct.
I live here and I work from here. So then how, being that you've got both home and work, how does that work with the Feng Shui? If, for me, I'm more business focused, so how would that then, I'm just raising it because that's actually some of the questions I've had people ask
we wanted to talk about this today.
Because I've had people say, but Jules, I work from home.
Yeah.
So I've had someone come out and they're saying, it's about the relationship and that's fine and we're great, but we're not making money.
Well, there's a big problem, right? Because really, these home is yin, right, and a business is yang. Right? So a home is nurturing, caring, supportive, and a business is activity and busy. Right? Those two things don't mix very well together. So if you bring your business into your home, which is what a lot of people do, then that spills over into the nurturing, quiet, peaceful thing that a home is supposed to be. So a home is supposed to be where you come and retreat from all that craziness and activity and rejuvenate and rest and recuperate and focus on the inner world and focus on your interpersonal relationships with your partner and your children and stuff like that. So when we bring business into the home, that creates a problem with that. So, though, one of the most important things is then you would need a house that has good energy for relationship people and then good energy for wealth and business and the right type of energy. So a lot of people do have issues and problems when they're trying to run a business from home. So then I would look at the person's home and go, well, this room is where the business should be, and you have a separate space and a separate phone line with a separate number, right? And then just shut the door at the end of the day and
keep that
energy
separate.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, but yeah, I've been to lots of people's places and they have business at home, and the room that they've got it in doesn't have the appropriate energy, or it has the wealth energy is not in that location, so they can't make money out of it. And sometimes it's quite simple. You can move the business activity to another room, swap it over. But sometimes it's like, well, we can make the most of what you have, but this is not really the appropriate space for what you're doing. And so, there are challenges
in every space.
Yeah. And they're all unique and individual.
Yes.
And so, so it has to be treated that way. And besides the general wise, like, keep things neat and tidy and don't have like stuff everywhere. And like, it's okay to have mess on your desk because that means that you're busy and you're creative. But then you don't leave that there. You tidy it up at the end of the day. So when you come back in the next morning,
it's a fresh start.
And so if your office was perfectly neat and tidy all the time, I'd probably go, well, gee, how busy are you?
Yeah.
Because I know when I get busy and I'm pulling out this file here
everywhere.
and bringing up a phone, and you're doing stuff.
Yeah, your brain is mapping out things as you've got it going on. But yes, then but isn't that part of one of the fundamentals of Feng Shui, that it is about, as you said, bringing it back to core and bringing it back to centre. So by tidying up at the end of the day, it means you are starting to switch over that energy by saying this is the end of that working time.
Yeah, and so I remember I used to work for a guy, music industry company back in the days when I was just starting Feng Shui and transitioning out of the music industry. And so one of the things that I suggested is that he get a clock and put a clock above the door on the outside of the office. And when we did that, so it's like you could see what the time was in the morning. Okay, well in there, time is money. Right? So in there, we're on the clock. Outside there, and it was really interesting because as soon as he did that, every day we started on time, and then the day would just go, and then we'd walk in at the end of the day, it was like 5 o'clock, and we hadn't even planned it. It was just like everything started to work like clockwork. And it was really interesting.
We need a clock.
Right? And just that simple thing of putting a clock above the door on the outside. Right?
Because it was not just symbolic, but energy-wise as well. It
Yeah.
was really that reminder to
Yeah.
tune in and
Yeah.
go.
And the other thing is, you should really ideally have a solid wall behind your back and a view to the window and a view to the door. So in this room here, I'm in like the power position. Yeah, so I've got support behind me. I've got a solid wall behind me, and I can see
there
the entrance coming in, and I can see the view out there. Now, if I was turned around and I had my back to the door and I'm looking in the
which
wall,
you used to have, remember?
No, that's why I turned it. Remember, I put it here because I
there was
hate
a
having my
built-in
back.
desk here
Yeah,
originally that meant that your back was away from.
Yeah, and that's why I put the white table, because as soon as I came in here, it's immediate for me, and I'm not huge onto the Feng Shui, but it's immediate for me that I don't have my back. Mind you, it's also a Jewish thing where we were taught when we were really young, you never have your back to the energy. You have the back, you have your energy supporting your back, but you don't have your back to it, which is why we put mirrors. So that we can, if we have to face that way, we have to be able to see it and gentle the edges, things like that.
Yeah, so I remember working in an office and we were facing into the wall, and the walls are there like that, and it was just like being in the trenches. Like we literally had this huge obstacle in front of us, and then people would come in behind you, and there was a psychological feeling of very subtle but powerful of lack of support. And lack of vision. And so when you're like this, you feel you can be relaxed because you feel supported, and like nothing's coming from behind you, and you've got a view to the outside world. So you're looking outwards.
So this is a good spot then?
Well, from a form point of view, but from the chi point of view, to tell you that I'd have to map the chi of the building, I'd have to use the compass, and then I would be able to tell you incredibly precise information about what the energy in the room is. What most people think is that Feng Shui is you come to my house or my business and you're going to make it all great, right?
Yeah, and see, that's why I'd be interested to actually build the process, because people don't get it.
That is not the way that it is at all. It's actually you have to change your actions to be in harmony with the energy of the building. Right? So
did everybody hear that? Can you repeat that, please?
Right, you have to change your actions to be in harmony with the energy of the building. So, here's an example: is I did someone's home, and they had the energy at the front door. That can mean networking, powerful speech, law and order, metaphysical studies, dining, using the mouth and cutting, like surgery, dentistry. The shadow side of that is gossip, backstabbing, slander, skin disorder, throat and mouth problems. So the husband had no problem in the house, but the wife was having heaps of problems. And that's because she didn't engage in any of those activities. And he was a police officer. Right? So his job was using the energy of law and order. So his activity was in harmony with the chi of the house, but her activities weren't. So we had to go through this big process of trying to find something that interested her was the meaning of those energies. Right? And finally said, well, this energy also means dining. And she said, I've always wanted to start a cafe. And I went, well, or a restaurant. I went, well, that's how you become in harmony with it. Like, I've got so many case studies over years of doing this, but one of them was I did this financial officer, the guy who owned a financial institution, right? And in his home, I said, oh, it's lucky that you haven't had serious illness or even died, because the energy in this room indicates serious illness. He said, well, I almost died 3 times. And I said, well, it indicates gallbladder and spleen disorder, and the energy at your front door indicates liver complaint. And he said, well, I got I got blood poisoning, which affected my liver. Then I went to my gallbladder, and I had to have my gallbladder removed. And I went, how do you know that? I said, well, this is the chi pattern of your home. Then he said, oh, well, we better go into the office. So we went into the office, and they hadn't laid it out yet. They just brought it, and they were just about to move in. And he said, proudly announced, this is going to be my office, and look at the big view. And I went, oh, I wouldn't do that. And he went, well, why is that? And I said, well, because the energy in this room is gallbladder and spleen disorder. And he said, but I feel so comfortable here. I feel so at home.
No wonder.
Exactly. Right? Exactly. And so you feel comfortable because it is a representation of what you have, which is no gallbladder. Right? So you should go in this part of the office. And which was a smaller room and it wasn't as prestigious, but he just went, yeah, okay. And then about 3 years later, I bumped into him again and said, "Hey, gang," said, "Oh, we're now the third largest non-bank financial institution in New South Wales."
Excellent.
And so if he had gone with what he felt comfortable with, it would have been more of the same. And people attract to themselves buildings and homes that is a reflection of who they are. And unless you've had this amazingly prosperous, successful life, then you're going to attract more of the same. Right? And so Feng Shui can come along and help to bypass that process by putting in a third party to come and assess the spaces for you who doesn't have an emotional attachment or a karmic connection to it and go, get this one, not that one.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, sorry, because one of the most common questions I have is that this is where I live and work. What do I do? That's why I was saying I'd be really interested to film you do an assessment so that people can actually understand that it's not just, I'm just going to put that pot plant there or, you know, because I don't know. I mean, I've always said to Nicole that my issue with Feng Shui is that I believe you create your own energy. I really do. I believe that you create your own space, your own sense of being. So that's why for me, I love the concept of it, but I've never felt like I have to implement it. Does that make sense? Just because I've never met someone who was so experienced, and then through, you know, one of my mentors I did, and that completely then started, you know, to really reshape, you know, my view on it, because it's not about moving a pot plant. And I'm not being drunk, that's literally how people see it.
We had that in our last discussion.
And that's why I was saying I'd love to actually film the process for people, you know, to understand that. I mean, even if we just did like an overview of it, do you know what I mean? To go, okay, well, this is, you got to look at the property and you look at this and look at this and look at this and look at this.
Yeah. Well, there's two types of Feng Shui. One is the Chinese one that's been developed over 4,000 or 5,000 years.
Yes, yeah.
Then there's the one that was invented in the United States in the 80s, right? And the one that was invented in the United States with the 80s, is very much connected to the New Age movement. And it basically got the outer of appearance of Feng Shui, but ripped out all the machinery of it. The actual, it took the compass out and the mathematics and all the complex stuff that actually gives you an exact blueprint of a building. And Feng Shui is a part of a broad body of Chinese metaphysics, which includes, you know, Chinese astrology and other systems of looking at any event in space and time, into the past, into the future.
Yes.
And so all of them have this thing in common, is that they have formulas, mathematical formulas, for the influence of space and time on people. So you're an event in space and time. When you're born, you have a matrix, an incarnational matrix that the Chinese will call a chi pattern, or your natal chart, that shows the influence of space and time on you as an individual through your journey in life. Then we have Feng Shui, which is a map of the influence of space and time on a building, because a building is built at a certain time and faces a certain direction. And then we have all events in human affairs, which are occurrences in space and time. So in Chinese metaphysics, there are three broad realms, which they call heaven, earth, and people. So there are the heavenly influences, which is according to the time, according to the season. Like we have seasons of the years.
Yes.
Well, everyone has a seasons of their life, and it's different to everyone else. Then we have the earth component, which is the Feng Shui, which is your environment, and then we have the people stuff. And the Western model is focusing on people, right? So I create all of it. And Chinese metaphysics go, however, there are these other two influences that you most likely created before you incarnated into this thing. So you've already created it, right? And then you have a template or a life path that your thoughts and beliefs and actions allow you to either stay on the sunny side of that path or in the shadowy side of that path. And that's where our actions and our beliefs and our thoughts and the positive thing, that's where that comes in. But there is a broad picture, a story that is your life in this carnation. Right? And, you know, try as much as you like, you can't change what that is. You can make the most of it. So, you know, so when I go to a house, basically I look at what the blueprint of what the people have created. Yeah. So you've created because you have drawn that to yourself. And then we look at that, and you can see everything from, organ pathology, what organs may have problems, what sort of illnesses, what sort of experiences that you have for a business, how you have to make money in the house. So I've been in some businesses, and the energy that there means that they need to use networking and the power of speech. So they would be better off on the phone talking to people, telemarketing, than taking out big ads in newspapers. Because they need to use the energy of networking and of speech. Some other premises need the energy of competitiveness, and they need to be quite aggressive in the marketplace. So each type of business needs different sort of energies. So if you were a very conservative sort of business, you'd want the energy of authority and sort of old school gallantry, sort of very pleasant and not aggressive. But if you were a stock trader, then you'd need the energy of aggression and competitive. You'd have to have the will to win. And so if you were a very conservative, old school business, and you were in a building that had the energy of competitiveness and aggressive sales, that's not a match.
No, it's a clash.
That's not a match with what your activity is. So if you were in such a building, then I would have to go and using colours and shapes and stuff, try to tone that energy down, and using water and the placement of the desks and stuff, try to activate the more conservative energy for that business.
Okay.
Yeah. And then go, by the way, if in the next period of time you ever decide that you want to change business premises, then we could come and I could help you find
look
a
at
more
one that's more conducive to that
place.
energy, because it doesn't have to, you don't have to fight so hard.
Yeah.
So because sorry, I'm just like having this aha moment.
Juliana's epiphany. Da-da-da.
Epiphany.
No.
Sorry, this is ongoing battle with words with Nick and I. I'm happy to keep some of my foot words.
Epiphany.
Epiphany.
Yeah.
But all right. So when we moved into here, for example, because I have always said to my partner who loves the house, okay, so for him it's just this relaxation, but I've always felt in resistance.
Yes, you have.
Yeah, it's true. I've always felt in resistance, and part of my brain goes because honestly, to me, heart is where my head is. Like I carry all my information there in the sense of, I don't need a million photos around, any of that kind of stuff. It's all in my brain. So whereas he's like, no, it's physical, it's tangible. So when we looked at here, I was specifically looking for something where we could be teaching or working from downstairs and then have the family structure upstairs. So, and he's always been really chilled. Yeah, it was initially like that. Then we stopped the teaching, we had someone move in, then we moved down. But basically for me though, the pattern changed because we created the online TV, and that's been a massive, move into my life.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny because I'm looking at that and I'm thinking it's interesting how you were saying, because we've got the support and then you look out. And one of the things I actually don't enjoy here, and it literally just clicked as soon as you said it, is that everybody's always given me heaps of shit about living in tree houses. Okay, so I've always lived in apartments up on the top because I actually enjoy being away from everybody. One of the things that frustrates me here is that I have no gate.
Yeah.
And I have people just walk up anytime, whenever they want, to bang on the door if they're telemarketing or this. And just the other week I said to my partner, I said, moving forward, staying here, what's really important to me is to actually get a gate. Where no one comes on unless I know who you are or I want you here, basically. And he said to me, you're so territorial, Bella. He said, silly. And I'm like, that's rich coming from you. But I said, no, because it's actually about, I do not like any surprises, anyone just walking up I don't know, because I'll be in my frame of thought and suddenly there's this bang, bang, bang. It's like a jarring. Do you know what I mean? Like it's jarring. And the problem is, I'm the one who has, I'm his, I'm the one who has to fix it or get it or sort it. Whereas they're like, shh, because they're trying to sleep. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it suddenly just occurred to me that has actually been part of my resistance, is that when we first looked at moving and then we invested into the business, the idea was that we would actually build, a really lovely timber door and then actually get that sliding gate coming across, which would just allow for me to control who's in or who's out. Does that make sense?
Privacy.
So, and I'm huge. I mean, Marie said to me, she goes, you're actually still in a tree house. You're still at the top of the cul-de-sac. You're still at the top of everything. But for me, it's always been someone has to buzz before they can get there.
Yeah, well, in Chinese astrology,
Like that's actually incredible. It's so important for me, and
no.
it just occurred to me as you were speaking
You
that
don't
that's
have it,
actually really important, and that's part of that resistance. Sorry,
it's okay. Well, in Chinese astrology, we have certain elements that are favourable for us and certain elements that may be unfavourable.
Right.
And so, for example, wood is a favourable element. So living in the country around the green is actually a really good thing for me. So when you mention a tree house, then the wood element is like a tree. So just being surrounded by greenery and trees and up high is exactly what you would do if wood was a favourable element for you. So you may have intuitively drawn yourself to the tree house because that's what you need to bring balance to your life. And the whole thing about the gate, well, that's secure. It's about having a boundary, about having creating a boundary. Yeah. And some people don't have boundaries like that. They're just an open slather. Oh, come on, come on. Other people need to have a boundary, and if you need to have a gate at your property to create a boundary, whether you invite them in or not, then just do it. So that's probably where you're getting that.
Liz is in trouble.
But that's really interesting because it can then, if you are feeling unsettled in your space, it doesn't matter what energy you've got that's already in the building. What you're then bringing into that is going to not have a jarring effect in it, regardless, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's it. It's all like, besides everything physical, there's an energetic field. Right? And the Western sort of New Age thing calls it the aura or the vibe or whatever. And Chinese metaphysics is just a mapping system of all that. Yes. Yeah? So we have the concept in the West, they just have the map, right? And so you go, I don't like that person's energy, then you could do their natal chart and you go, that's because they're yang metal and metal is unfavourable element for you, so your energy fields don't match. It's as simple as that, And so people either, are supported by a space or are drained by a space or clash with a space. And so if that's the case...
Supported, drained or clash.
Yeah.
Okay, and what is it about having to be, and I've logicked this from the profiling background, I cannot stand clutter. Oh my God, it just drives me bonkers if I don't have some fresh flowers out and I have clutter. Like, to me, just a piece of furniture just needs one thing on it. It doesn't, and this is this ongoing war with my Sicilian about he's got to fill every single space. And I'm going, you don't have to fill space. Do you know what I mean? Everyone goes, you're a clean freak. Yes, I am. Yeah. But I don't like clutter because I instantly, from a profiling, go, clutter means my brain has no space to develop. It's already taken.
Well, different people have different needs.
Yeah.
Right? And so, like, I have clients who go to their homes and like, well, do you actually live in here? It looks like a museum because everything is so... one time, like, when I moved the chair back to get up, she had to go and put it all back perfectly straight, and I was going, well, you've got a bit of a neatness compulsion, And so, that works for some people.
Yes.
But for other people, it doesn't, And if you're with someone that doesn't work for, then you have to meet some sort of compromise. You have
oh my God! Are you listening to this?
you have to communicate and go, well, okay, this is what I need, and so some sort of something that you can live with that's workable for the other person.
They need to move out.
Or they need to move out. No, that's extreme.
Or they have a man cave. We make as much mess as you want in there.
You be a hoarder in there. There's a hoarding room. Wow, that's great. Well, we're at the end of our time, which is such a pity. But thank you so much. And I know that it makes perfect sense that it's not about going, yes, here's a blanket rule. But I loved... as a suggestion for businesses, if you want to make that space be accountable and time is money, that idea of the clock outside is brilliant.
And the most important thing is I would identify where the prosperity chi, whether it's a house or a business premises, and then place water there. And that will change for each different location. So a lot of people, for marketing purposes and to be on articles and magazines, want to give you this one-size-fits-all thing.
Yeah.
But
and that's why it's never felt right.
It's irresponsible to do that because
Correct.
Every place is unique, every person is different. It's got to be judged on a case-by-case basis.
Yes.
But that would be the number one thing to do.
is
Right.
identify the prosperity
Yeah.
chi, use a professional like yourself, and then work with water.
Yeah.
Water's all about flow, prosperity, abundance.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't go and, have heart surgery with, someone who's an intern. So,
No,
Correct.
I had that in January. I had that in January.
She did.
I did. I had my pulmonary valve
Ah.
replaced by a damn good surgeon.
Correct. No,
Yeah,
no, absolutely.
so if your life is important to you and your
Yes, it
business
is.
life, then
Correct.
you get a professional to come and do it properly.
Can I ask you what, just before we finish up, what do the fees look like for something like that? Because when I've said it to people, they've gone, Jules, I don't have thousands of dollars.
Well, it varies, right? And it varies on the size of the premises, the type of, like, if I was going and consulting for a multinational corporation, then it would be in the thousands or tens of thousands of dollars,
Yeah.
But
there's also a lot of work involved in that in terms of mapping and marrying and taking
Yeah.
time. Like that's a big
Yeah.
project. So
yeah, that's right. So,
Yeah, so the average person who runs their
well,
business from
my
home,
home's consultations start at $650.
yeah,
That's where they start. I have a premium package, which is like $2,500, and then if you want Chinese astrology readings as well, then it goes up to like $3,500. So I have, a basic, which is, the basics covered, and then a premium package
cool.
as well. So
And is that something then that you get done once in detail, and then
Yeah.
maybe top up in a couple of years' time, or something
Yeah,
like that? Like, what's,
well,
I know everyone's individual, but
well,
what's
I do
the process?
what we call the natal chart, right, which is the basic chart of the premises, and then every year you can have a yearly supplementary upgrade to see what the yearly energies are doing, and then the chi pattern changes every 20 years, like majorly on the planet. So we've got 10 years to go before there's another major change, but then at that time, then everyone would need to reassess
Sure.
their premises, and some will be getting better and some will be getting a lot worse. So if like business is just about money, so there's no point in having an investment in somewhere that's not returning an investment.
correct.
So if there's going to be a major change coming up and you go, okay, well look, in 2 years' time or whatever, this is going to change, so you should get another premises, then, why not? And then I find that people in business have a lot less emotional attachment to decisions. Put the counter there, move that person there, put the accounts receivable over there, put the sales staff there. They don't seem to have much of an emotional charge on that. But you go to someone's house and tell them that, that the guest room should be the home office and the home office should be the guest room and the master bedroom isn't really the best bedroom in the house. And then you have big emotional responses to that because people's emotional stuff and their karma and everything is all connected into the chi pattern of the house.
Right.
Because you and the chi pattern of the house are married together. Yeah? And so we can see what issues are in your life and what you need to be working on. And so quite often you need to work on the inner level so that the outer level can shift. And then if you change the outer level, then that can help facilitate the inner. So you've got to sort of do the inner and the outer.
Yes.
Just doing one and not the other.
Not the other. But I did like also the point that you made that there's no good then having that identification of that energy and that realised if you then don't choose to take action on it, because you can know it. You can have a report from you can have a discussion from you, but if you are not going to then work with that and take action to make that change, it's not going to change anything.
Yeah, a lot of people say, oh, we had the feng shui done and nothing happened. You go, oh, well, what did you do? Did you put the water there? Did you change the office to the other room? Did you change the colours of your bedding? No. Well, then you didn't do it. They think just having someone come up, so they can tell their friends that they have it done, mainly. So we've got to
I don't disagree with that. Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Well, I just saw what my sister did, and she's she's actually also quite lucky because her mother-in-law is a Feng Shui master and monk. But before she bought the property, they went and had a look at their commercial property they were leasing somewhere, and my sister just went, I feel like we've outgrown this, not just financially or space-wise, just I feel like it. So, down came Murray and they went walking, and ironically my sister had seen a property that 5 years before was way above what they could afford. Roll forward 5 years later, it was actually selling under market value because of the issues with the current owner. They were in a position where that was absolutely nothing, and she said, this is a perfect spot for you. And so she just went, I cannot believe that, because 5 years ago she went, I thought we could not afford that, and now the hot, like everything just went dun, 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 dun. And since moving in they've doubled their sales revenue.
Fantastic.
So yeah,
Cool.
So it's amazing.
Thank you for joining us.
Oh,
it was
my
great.
pleasure.
Really, really good.
I
So,
don't want him to go.
I know. So the Feng Shui, Feng Shui or Feng Shui. You can
That's
say
it.
either way, but not a mix. All right? 'Cause then you're saying English. All right? It's not right. It's a mix of Mandarin
Or
Cantonese.
you're saying Epiphany.
You're mispronouncing basic words. So
No, man, my dad's Hungarian. He never got a right from word go. I had nothing to do with
it's
it.
your reality. So fengshuiadvantage.com is where
Love
you
it.
can find George, and we've got his information on our website as well. So thank you so much for
Oh,
joining
my
us.
pleasure.
you.
Thanks for
Really
having me.
great.
That's great.
And we will be back very soon with the Hour of Power. See you then.